Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey man, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Big announcement from Netflix I'll tell you about in a second, but top of mind, I want to share a story with you about Hularious. So remember Hularious, the big comedy platform thing? I've been telling you about it for a couple months, and Jim Gaffigan had a special on it. So I've mentioned to you that I don't have Hulu, so when Jim Gaffigan's special came out, I called up my friend Captain Hook. The captain lives on a pirate ship. He's a very eccentric character, but he gets all the comedy specials. So I went over to the captain's place on the pirate ship there, and I watched Jim Gaffigan's special on the pirate ship. Okay? Every time I told you about Hularious, I was thinking to myself, Peacock. I was visually picturing myself in the comfy chair downstairs where I fall asleep with my Roku app, and every time I said the word Hularious, I thought of Peacock. Last night, I was watching some TV, and I went over to Hulu to watch The Shield, where I regularly watch The Shield, and there was Jim Gaffigan, and I was like, oh, Hularious is on Hulu, and I have the service. I didn't need to go over to Captain Hook's to watch it on the pirate ship. I could have just watched it. Guys, the marketing didn't work. Aside from I suck and I'm stupid, I host a comedy podcast 7 days a week for 5 years now. Like, something broke. Something in the marketing didn't work. Maybe everybody else was like, oh yeah, Hulu, we have Hulu. I talked about this thing every day and never even realized I had the service. So I'm not sure it scored. And I went all the way over to Captain Hook's to watch 7 minutes of comedy from somebody who has nothing new to say. Moving on, Netflix announced Torching 2024, a roast of the year, premiering December 27th. Billed as a night of savage laughs and surprises, looking back on the last 12 months, the roast will tape on December 17th. It will feature Mark Normand, Miss Pat, Sam Morrill, Tim Dillon, Jeff Ross. I just have this suspicion that it's not going to be good. Didn't Netflix do some sort of like year recap shows a year ago or 2 years ago that was like unwatchable? I think this is a mistake. Here's why. The roast of Tom Brady was so good, such a high bar. And they announced this thing on December 6th. I'm going to tape it 11 days later. And while the lineup is nice, it's not at the level of the Tom Brady roast, which had, say, Tom Brady or Kevin Hart or folks like that. So I think Netflix is making a mistake here and goofing up their brand new roast brand. I like everyone who's performing. I just don't think it's big enough. I think this is a mistake. A roast of the year, Netflix, December 27th. I don't know, man. Spotify announced the top podcasts of the year. I'll focus on the comedy ones. You can probably guess number one. That's right. The most powerful man in the world, the Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan is the man. He's number one. Theo Von, number three. This is on Spotify. So if you look at the Apple charts, you'll get a different result, although you'll still get Rogan number one. Theo at 3. Other comedians, let's see. Dax Shepard, is he comedic? Anyway, he's at 8. The Smartless Guys, are they comedians? They're at 14. The Kelsey Brothers at 19. Hey, one of them hosts a late night show now. We got to put them in the bag. Trevor Noah at 20. Bad Friends, Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee sitting at 21. Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast at 26. Kill Tony at 28. 29 is Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. Conan at 47, Andrew Schultz at 49, and I guess this show is number 51. I'm not in the top 50, but probably 51 would be my assumption there. Scrubs is coming back, baby. Well, all we know so far is Bill Lawrence, who came up with the original. He's rebooting Scrubs. That's all they've announced. We have no idea who's on it or not. If they bring this back without JD and Turk, everyone's insane, and Zach Braff and Donald Faison would be insane not to take the money, right? Getting anyone else back from the cast would be nice, but I think it's Zach and Donald, and whoever else is bored, you can be part of it or not. My wife and I discussed this already. Like, well, what happens if Carla doesn't come back? Very simple, right? So JD's at the supermarket. He runs into Turk. Hey, dude, how you been? Oh, I'm great. I'm great. You know, how's it working at St. Whatever Hospital? You know, I'm thinking to start my own practice. Me too. We should go into practice together. And then they open a practice together. And then whoever's on the show's on the show. And that'll be fine. John Oliver's show has withdrawn from the Critics' Choice Awards as a result of a category change. Oh no, a controversy. The organization changed their rules, stating that only shows that involve conversation should be nominated for Best Talk Show, and Oliver rarely talks to anybody else on his show, unlike his late-night peers. The nominees are Hot Ones, The Daily Show, Graham Norton, Mulaney, Kelly Clarkson, and Colbert. Organizers wanted Oliver to go into Best Comedy Series, where it would have competed against Abbott Elementary, English Teacher, Hacks, Nobody Wants This, Only Murders, Somebody Somewhere, St. Denis Medical and What We Do in the Shadows. I guess the Oliver people were like, nah. Critics' Choice Awards, Sunday, January 12th. Talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Pete Davidson has divulged how much you make if you're in the cast of Saturday Night Live. New York Magazine asked Pete, what was your biggest splurge after your first SNL paycheck? Pete said, do you guys know what they pay us? It's like $3,000 an episode. I think I got dinner. Somebody did some math. That means if you appear in every episode, you earn somewhere between $54,000 and $66,000. That said, it's probably good for your career long term. I forgot to put it in my notes. Somewhere I saw Bill Murray was on somebody's podcast and says he wants to host SNL this season. I can't imagine Lauren saying that Bill wants to do it and Lauren saying no to Bill because Bill's a bit of a recluse, right? So I bet that winds up happening. Andrew Schultz has officially responded to Kendrick Lamar's subliminal shot at him. You may remember that Lamar's recent musical release discussed white comics who disrespect black women. Many people on the interwebs think he meant Andrew Schultz. Schultz, in a facetious way, said, nobody's respected women more through art than rappers. Yamanika Saunders tapes her next special today at 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. at the Comedy Cellar's Fat Black Pussycat in New York City. Jonathan Van Ness will get a special on Veeps. Fun and Slutty will be on Veeps January 23rd. That service I definitely don't have. In Fun and Slutty, Jonathan takes on the persona of Professor Jonathan Van Nasty as they set out to educate an unsuspecting audience on the definitions, shenanigans, and stigmas of slutty behavior. It was taped earlier this year in Austin, Texas. There is a trailer. I pulled the audio. There was too much cursing for me to air it, and I didn't find it all that funny, so we move on. SketchFest. You know, you gotta love the SketchFest publicist. SketchFest publicist sends you items, and then I talk about them. So it's good for me, and it's good for SketchFest. You wish all publicists would be this good. I know I said I'd stop. All right, what did SketchFest announce now? Napoleon Dynamite celebrates its 20th anniversary with a live read featuring the film stars. That's pretty cool. That's on January 19th. The Doughboys podcast will be there on the 25th. Do you like baseball? John Kruk and Dwayne Kuiper will be in conversation. That's on May 15th. I'm going to have to hit the publicist back and be like, wait, SketchFest is in January, and that's not comedy. Why is that in this? Chris Fleming, who's fantastic, has added a third show by popular demand at the Great American Music Hall on January 19th. UCB's ASCAD added a second show. That's on the 25th. And Reese Darby, a second show on January 18th. Not sure how the baseball guys feature in this. If it was in January, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But I don't know. I don't get it. Sketchfest is fantastic. I have to find some reason to get out to San Francisco. And let me tell you about the Gallagher documentary. I have a screener of it. I've been so backed up since Thanksgiving. I need to watch this thing because I like Gallagher a lot. Got to do a broadcast with him one time, and he was pretty cool. IndieWire caught up with filmmaker Josh Forbes. Gallagher was shot over the course of 7 years. Gallagher is a portrait of a prop comedian in the winter of his life. Forbes told IndieWire, it's kind of hack to say, oh, this guy smashes things, what an idiot. If you look at the history of comedy or clowns, making a mess is funny. Pie fights are funny. Slipping on a banana peel is funny. And I think because it's so overtly silly, it's an easy target. And I always like the underdog. I always like the outsider. I always like the guy who's misunderstood. Forbes initially pitched an idea about Gallagher reuniting with his brother. You know, there was that whole Gallagher 2, Gallagher TOO thing for a while. I still don't understand what was going on there. Maine Gallagher was like, no. The project evolved into a portrait of a comedian on the road. Forbes said, I had me and my sound guy and my camera guy in one room, and we're staying in the same hotel. And he's like, well, it's my room. It's just one guy. You guys have 3 guys. One of you guys stay with me. So I ended up sharing a bedroom with Gallagher, which was crazy because he never wore a shirt. Having met Gallagher, probably not the same as sharing a room with, I don't know, David Beckham. Just saying. At one point, I was in the hotel room with him, and I was checking my phone, and I smelled something. I looked over, and he had his wet underwear on a lamp just in our room. He was a total wild man. Forbes said anything that closely resembled the truth or his past especially, he didn't want to talk about it. And he didn't see how it was funny. He only wanted to do things that were funny. No matter how hard he tried to be seen as something other than watermelon smashing guy, people were like, you're the watermelon smashing guy. I'm just as guilty. When we had him up, we had him smash Jackie the Joke Man, Joke Master Jr.'s long story. Forbes said Gallagher completely resented it. No, not me, the watermelon folks. It's like having a band, having a big radio hit, and then kind of hating the audience. But I think he also enjoyed it. He enjoyed the thrill of making the audience cringe and go wild and get messy and all that. And he loved the aspect of that. But I think the most difficult thing for him was just being a brilliant comedian, but people just wanted him to smash things. Final story of the day, comedian Kabir Singh has passed away at 39 years old. Singh died on Wednesday. TMZ reported that Singh had been dealing with health concerns and authorities suspect he died of natural causes. Singh's friend Jeremy Curry posted on Facebook. He shared a picture of the two smiling together and wrote that the late comedian passed away peacefully in his sleep. Kabir Singh was 39. And that's your comedy news for today.